Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Tamara.
Hi, I'm JP. Welcome to our house in Montecito, California.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi, my name is Tamara Cajuste. I am a flight attendant and a designer, and I live in Montecito, California.
And my name is Jean-Philippe Cajuste, and I also live in Montecito, California with my beautiful wife, and I am known as the Pillow Man. So we ended up at this home about almost 5 years ago, about a few months before COVID. We were prior living in Manhattan Beach, California, and we were doing a lot of business up here in Montecito. Fell in love with it, and we are so excited to be here.
We really love historical homes, and so we were just looking around, and we stumbled upon this, and it kind of really fell into our lap. The people, the owners really wanted us to move in, and we weren't quite ready because we have a kid in our daughter is in middle school, so we weren't ready to move. But it was just such an opportunity that we couldn't pass up, so we just went for it, and it's been one of the best moves ever.
To add to that we weren't really looking. We had to open up a little pop-up at the Country Mart here in Montecito, and our last week we were here, decided to go just drive around and kick some tires and sort of dream a bit. It's always been a fantasy of mine to be up here, and honestly, it did come true. So yeah, it's been an amazing experience. It's so beautiful, and it's so tranquil, and the house is over 120 years old. It's basically right up our alley. So this is actually two different rooms, even though we don't have a partition, but this area is our game room. We play many, many nights with marathon of backgammon. And throughout the winter months, obviously the fireplace is going, we have martinis. COVID was actually a pretty fun time with the family.
I found them on the side of the road in Round Top, and I asked the guy if I could buy them, and they said they're just, props or whatever, but I said I gotta have them. And I found out they came from the Turkish embassy, and there's the female version and the male version of the chairs, and I just think they're so charming and delightful.
Yes, they are. And we like to layer quite a bit, as you will see. Tamara's a big fan of Suzani's, especially vintage Suzani's. So we like to layer quite a bit of the textiles over our sofas, ottomans, on walls. We do quite a bit of art collecting, especially this one here. She's a big fan of Mary McGuire out of the East Coast.
She's a dear friend of mine, and she does these beautiful, like whimsical paintings with such lovely color. They just make you so happy.
Yeah.
That particular one reminds me of the Caribbean, which I love so much because my honey's from the Caribbean and just so special.
As you'll see throughout the walls, we bought these Tree of Life fixtures. I didn't know what they were for when we first got them, but we somehow layered them throughout the house, and it adds quite a bit of a touch to it, I believe. Our aesthetic is not necessarily a look, it's very much more of a feel. And then this part of the living room is more of a family TV room. This is where we hang. We actually entertain quite a bit of friends sometimes. As you'll see, we big collectors of books. We get a lot of our inspiration from. Our sofa is, as you can see, it's pretty thick. I'm a big dude, and very lush. It's with vintage linen. The kids love it. And so we like to layer quite a bit. Even though I'm known as the Pillow Man, I don't put a lot of pillows on our sofa. That's one thing we don't like to do. So we like to keep it very simple.
So when we designed this room, there was just some reason. The color, the yellow and the orange colors were just calling me to it. I don't know why. The color palette really just came to me. And so I think maybe it's the citrus in Montecito, the smells of the citrus and the green. Anyway, so all the colors are picked up, a lot of oranges and a lot of yellows. That's what this room was telling me it wanted to be. Here another Mary McGuire, another Caribbean picture. And then she did a chocolate box for Louis Chéri, which is just darling with her little pictures on it. Okay, so the lampshades are made from vintage hippie fabric, vintage antique Indian block print, which I just love and collect for years and years. And again, you're picking up the oranges and the greens and the citrusy colors. Again, it's so pretty.
The bottles are actually vintage wine bottles we picked up on some of our hunts. We like to make a lot of our items like lamps and tables and chairs. We use quite a bit of different techniques, but that's one of an example of the items that we like to make. Also, you'll notice these sconces are old vintage sconces that Tamara found. Again, I don't know how she finds these things, but it's pretty amazing. When we first got them, I thought I was going to throw them away, but they landed up on my wall, and they're pretty cool. I love my French doors. I log these back. We do a lot of buying in Texas, in Round Top, Texas. I'm going to incorporate some of these doors throughout a home somewhere, but for now they're just leaning on my wall. The mirror came from Thailand. We've had it for probably 25, 30 years,
yeah.
And it's actually my little pride and joy. And the lamps, Tamara could tell you a little bit more about those lamps.
I just love them. I got them and I have to have them, and I just love them.
The bowls are a big item of ours. We do collect quite a bit of the Turkish vintage yogurt bowls, I believe.
And they're very hard to come by now, and they're just so every single one of them is one of a kind. And I just love the terracotta, and again the palette of the yellow and the green, and just the little stories that they tell on every one of them.
Yeah, you can see them throughout the home for sure. Tamara, I always say she's got an amazing eye, and I have a good talent to style. So we kind of
Definitely.
work very, very well together. I love to layer. I do that even with my own clothing. I put an old belt with some new pair, a suit or something like that. As you'll see, the rug, it's an old vintage rug that we picked up in, is it Turkey?
Texas. Yeah.
Turkey?
Yeah, it's Turkish.
It's Turkish.
Yes.
But it complements, the chairs, the pillows, the bowls. It
ties it all
together.
Yeah.
We've been very fortunate to be able to do that. Pillowman kind of, well, I'll say this, the business was a hobby of Tamara's. She was as a flight attendant, she traveled the world and would collect textiles, and unfortunately I was just like, I don't need this stuff in my house. At some point you gotta move this stuff out. And she goes, you'll see one day, and she would make pillows for us at the house. And it evolved over the last 20 years into this little mini lifestyle brand called Indian Pink. But the nickname Pillowman was given to me because every time I went someplace, they kept saying, are you the Pillowman? Are you the Pillowman? And I said, yeah, I guess so. So here I am.
So as you can see, I am a huge fan of the Indian poppy. A friend of mine, I bought these from a friend of mine, and they are just my pride and joy. And the other one, I'm getting it printed in India, so the other panel's gone. And I just love the fact that I love a pop of red. So we're bringing a little bit of red in our dark, cozy dining room. And so I love just here's a muted red table that is like my pride and joy. My table and my painting are my two favorite really items that I own. A painting from Argentina. And my husband always threatens me when we get in a fight or whatever. He's like, I'll sell your table or I'll sell your painting. So
yeah, but again, it goes back to mixing. Here you have vintage antique French chairs with the linen, and then you have this 20-year-old Indian painted table. And as you'll turn around, you'll see we have this Argentinian painting that Tamara in one of her travels picked up.
I carried it home from Argentina, and it's really my pride and joy. Initially it was my daughter and I, and then I had another daughter, so now it's my two daughters. And I will never part with my painting. My new obsession, because I have a lot of obsession with collections, is this French, it's called Crazyville, French pottery that I just adore. And a lot of people I'm just finding a lot of it. And so the collection grows. And I love the little soup bowl. Everything's just so charming. And I just love it so much.
This is a new item Tamara's been collecting over the last year, and she had gone to France, and she FaceTimed me and said, "What do you think about these plates?" I go, "Well, they're really granny looking." And she said, "Are you kidding me? These are so beautiful." And I was like, "Okay, well, maybe bring some home." And here she comes with luggage of
Yes, on my
plates.
layovers, I've got all my stuff, and I've only got 24 hours there, and I'm coming home with like a duffel bag full of dishes, out of all things to collect on a layover.
First thing when I came in here, I was like, okay, we got to paint these walls. These are not gonna stay like this. This is granny, too old. But then I fell in love with them because it's so natural and it's such a great character to it.
And I said, no way, we're not painting these walls.
But the home is about 125 years old. I think these have been here probably well over 75 probably. And
at night with like the lighting and the candles, it's just such a special
beautiful
little cozy room. It really, really is.
Yeah.
The server did come with the house, which is so nice because there's a lot of, with all the collections, we need storage space. So it's really nice and it just looks like it all, was meant to be there.
Especially at night, it has this very sexy, like smoky feel to it, this area, even though with the granny plates, I call them. But there's definitely another layer that's very inviting. It feels like you're walking into a upscale restaurant in a sense. It's definitely growing on me with these plates for sure. Yeah. So these were found also in Texas. These are actually old spindles, stair spindles. And we just made lamps out of them. We just created this sort of, smoky, and then the black shades Tamara just added to the lamp.
I thought the black shade just went with this room. It was just a little more formal and kind of, just made it a little more, I don't know, I just liked it.
I mean, even though everything's not French, we have a French flag, but, the plates definitely are French, the bottles, but the painting's Argentinian, the lamps.
It's actually from Spain.
Which the Spain.
And ended up in Argentina.
And there you go, ended up Argentina. One of our little finds, nothing too spectacular, but it just adds a slight little touch. It goes well with the lamps and the painting, I think. It sort of complements each other there. We do sometimes change lampshades, maybe something a little bit more funner throughout the summer with pattern. But yeah, it kind of goes together, doesn't it?
So I've been collecting fabric like my whole life. I've just always done it. And so when I would go on my trips, I would just find the nearest vendor of any authentic, textile that they made from that country, like in China and India. And I would go to the source and just like find these amazing pieces of fabric. And then I would come home and make pillows out of them and collect them, and it just kind of just turned into a big, hobby. And then Jean-Philippe people wanted them, so he just started selling them. And it really just we went from store to store, and it just kind of it just developed on its own.
So now also it's become more than just pillows, it's furniture. But we always use vintage textiles. We don't do anything very new.
Or we reproduce vintage textiles.
We reproduce vintage textiles.
Yes, which is our new thing that we're doing. We have a wonderful man in India that reproduces antique fabric for us. And it's just amazing, the quality of the workmanship. Okay, now we're gonna take you to the kitchen. I just love this little peekaboo maid's quarters door. It's so awesome. Come on in.
That's just to keep the riffraff out.
This is our kitchen. We love this little old antique kitchen. It's got great storage built-ins. And then I have another collection, my collection of plates. I love collecting plates from all over. And so this is kind of our little breakfast nook that we just eat here quite often.
Yeah.
And then we've got this old-fashioned kitchen that is not updated, but that we just absolutely love. It's just, everybody's always in here cooking. Jean-Philippe is a big cook. And so we're making food.
Yeah.
Lots of fun breakfast. Sunday mornings, we always have BLTs.
The botanicals you're seeing up top of the cabinetry here just adds another layer to the cabinets, I believe, and it draws your eye upwards. And with the gold frames, again, we're trying to just give it some sort of a style with the gold knobs, the brass, faucet. But again, it's nothing that we're trying to be so ostentatious about it, but more of just a clean feel. But yeah, there's some really fun dinners that come out of this kitchen for sure.
Right, it's a very functional kitchen. We do a lot of cooking in here. The rug I got at an antique store or at a thrift store, and I just fell in love with it. Again, I'm always searching wherever I go. Every layover, I go and find an antique mall, find a vendor, find an antique area, and just bring home, just collect. It's just because you never know when you're going to find something good.
Yeah, the one word I do always use almost too much, it's called being unpredictable. We don't know reason why, it just somehow ends up looking good at that space. I mean, even the tablecloths, when you see them in a place, you'll never think of where am I gonna put that? And then you put it in your kitchen and it works. And it sort of marries everything together.
The painting we found at the Long Beach flea market, I think. And then the tablecloths I collect as much as I possibly can. The vintage, I call it hippie cloth, but it's all vintage block print, and they're just absolutely
from the
stunning.
60s, right? Yeah.
Yeah, from the 60s and 70s.
The home itself, first of all, it's a historical home, and it has such a beautiful bone type structure. I feel like it's like an understated piece of gem.
The most beautiful thing about Montecito is it's like on the trees, it's gardens on the water. So it's very enlightening, and the way that the town sits, the whole Santa Barbara, is north-south. So it's very, like, when the clouds come in, it's very misty all the time. So it's like it's very dreamy here, and so green, and then you have the ocean. It's just magical.
The only way I could compare it to is very Mediterranean. As Tamara mentioned, it's east, it goes south and north. So when the sun rises, especially in the summertime, it almost rises in the ocean in the morning and sets in the ocean at night. So it's a very surreal, beautiful Mediterranean feel. That's the only way I could describe it. Welcome to
It's our backyard.
our little backyard. Actually, this is more of an alfresco dining area that we love to entertain. It's an old vintage French wine tasting table from the early 1900s. I'm a big fan of old, long, skinny tables. I'm a big collector. That's my collection. I've been collecting those quite a bit now. The chairs are just your basic IKEA, outdoor
Little French fold-up chairs. They're fabulous.
They work well with the table. These are old vintage urns that we found on some of our trips. But we do put candles in there at night. Our sort of dinners are filled with laughter and with music. We have a lot of artist friends, painters, musicians, actors, and so it can be quite lovely out here with these dinners. Sometimes
it's
they end
really
up in a little
refreshing place.
Yeah, for sure.
Really is. Our kids are big volleyball players, so we used to have a volleyball court out here.
Yeah.
And now we just kind of changed it to, now we sit out there during sunset. It's really pretty with the chairs. It's just really there's so many different locations in this home where you can just sit little, areas. which is so nice. And it's all about the way the sun hits.
One thing, as you noticed, so see, you hear the birds. It's extremely quiet. There's an old church that's not too far away, and it always tells you what time it is as the bells ring.
So you hear the church bells, and you hear the train, which
Yes.
is really it's very nostalgic, Montecito. People, when they come up here, they're like, oh, it's so
Yeah.
relaxing. So it's really a refreshing place to come.
And the beach is
It
down
really
the street. It's not
Yeah.
that far.
Yeah. So here we have this little courtyard that I like to have little fresh plants. We sit out here, have coffee in the morning. The wisteria during April, the wisteria blooms here, and it's just magical. I'm sorry it's not there right now. Anyway, it's just a really charming little courtyard. I just love it. When we have a dinner party, it's like,
Yeah.
you know,
Usually this
people
is a bar area that we put our bar, an outdoor bar, and then we have quite a bit of people over, and then we just go right into the dining room and have dinner or late lunch.
Now we're going to take you into our studio / dressing room. It's kind of I have a thing with red, but I don't like too much red in the house, so I just love red pillows. They just do something for me. And I have my whole collection of fabrics over here. These are antique Suzani fabric that just is my obsession right now, and they're over 100 years old, very difficult to find. The tradition of the stitching is not, it's becoming extinct because the new generations are not doing it anymore. So, and then I just got this in Doha. It's Iranian Kalamakari. I just got this last week in Doha, and it's just amazing. All of this fabric here, this is called Nankin, and it comes from China. And they're old. This has actually been dyed a bit, but they're old mattresses from back in the day. And I mean, the amount of beautiful pillows we've made from this textile is amazing. So we make primarily pillows, but then also other items out of all of these textiles. This is Kantha cloth. It is it's like stitched. These are old saris, and they never throw anything away. So they just stitch and stitch and stitch, and they become these beautiful blankets with the colors and the softness, and they're just magical pieces of fabric. Of course, we have the Indian block print that I love, and anything pink, little block print fabrics I just love so much.
One thing I would like to show you as well is that we're doing in the process is we are, as Tamara mentioned, we're reproducing old vintage lines. So, for example, you tell her about that.
So this is an old piece of fabric that I had, and we sent it to my guy in India, and he reproduced it on linen, which is just lovely. And now we're reupholstering in this.
So it's just basically, these are all vintage archives prints, and we're reproducing it for outdoor lines, as well as for upholstery, curtains, pillows, and this is a couple of the samples. But hopefully by the end of the year, we're going to have a new line for the next show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, it's old textiles that she finds, and we figure out if we can make a pillow out of it, or should we just not
reproduce it. Or here's some more of the Indian, like the hippie fabric that is another from the 60s and 70s that people used to put all over their walls, and it's just so beautifully made, and you can't find it anymore. So I want to reproduce it. And it's almost like on a gauzy piece of fabric. They're old tablecloths. And you can cover the walls with them. You can cover a sofa with it and just layer and, drape them. It's so much fun.
Anybody who was, from the 60s can relate, that's for sure, because they all come from the 60s.
60s and the 70s.
I'm an obsessive about making lampshades from this fabric.
Yeah. And then this piece back here that's on the back wall is a beautiful piece that I found in Brimfield. This man had it in this suitcase, and I pulled it out of this old suitcase, this one and the one in my bedroom. And it's just the workmanship on this piece of fabric it's all block print, and it's just magical. One thing I do want to mention, this is my friend Pedro de la Cruz, beautiful artist, Santa Barbara artist. I just love this is my daughter and her little dog. And I just love the little simplicity of this painting.
Another artist that we are friends of ours, a very well-known Santa Barbara artist, Colette Constantino. This is actually a print that she actually made for Schumacher.
For wallpaper.
This is actually a print, but we just love the colors with the walls.
She's so talented, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. This is one of my bowls that I like the ones that are up on the wall from Turkey with all the one-of-a-kind different. And this is just a larger one. Inside, I have another collection I love antique tarot cards. I mean, I would love to make wallpaper out of this. I mean, they're just unbelievable. All the patterns and the color palette and everything. I just love them. So I'm just trying to find out what I'm going to do with them. So I just leave them in this bowl until we'll figure it out.
The table is Indian.
Rose Bowl. We got it at the Rose Bowl years ago. And again, it's just that one little pop of red that just makes me so happy.
Yeah. The pillows is a mixture of different textiles. The gingham is actually from hand spun from the Hill tribe in China, and this is an old Nanking vintage textile, very very rare to find with the vegetable dye. One thing that I'd like to share is that we like to have stuff look older, and by that meaning more muted. So we flip the textiles inside out.
We like everything, we turn a lot around, so it's not so bright. It's kind of like a soft red.
Yeah, it's like a faded.
It looks more worn and more, lived in.
So again, a mixture of, there's French ticking.
There's French. There's Old Hippie again.
Again, yep. And then
the famous poppy that we love.
Yes.
In the afternoon, the sun comes in here and these windows open, and it's just such a little refreshing room.
Okay, so this is our youngest daughter, Gabby's room. And as you can see, she's got the boho chic vibe going. She got a little bit of mom's bug with the textiles. She loves color. And she's on her bed. You'll see that she's got some of her mom's favorite vintage Suzanis, layered with a Cantha blanket, vintage Suzani on the wall.
She loves her monograms.
She's a big monogram girl on her pillows. It's a fun room. A lot of light. It's wraparound windows, and she definitely loves to have a little bit of sleepovers with her friends over here. It's simple. It's a simple room.
It's a very happy room, though. The light in here is just lovely. It's really fun.
So this is, for example, a bedding line that we created last year. Again, a reproduction of some old textiles that Tamara made. So we did that.
And then we faded it to give it a little pink tint. And just, again, the yellow in here, because it's such a happy room. So, I think it calls for that. The bed is she picked this bed out in Round Top, and it was blue. And so we painted it, and it's just a little spindle bed. It's really fun. The majority of this stuff is found. I mean, these are found during COVID, the old English dressers, and then the little side tables, and then just mixed with the armoire I wouldn't necessarily have in here, but for a teenager, she needs to put all of her stuff. She's got so much stuff so that it doesn't get overwhelming.
We rarely actually get anything that's new.
Yes.
We're big into finding treasures.
Right.
But sometimes if you need some room, you got to find a dresser or an armoire. You got to go for it. And so, but ideally, we would put something probably a little bit older than that.
So this is our primary bedroom. Again, just kind of layered and thrown together. This is my favorite piece that I found in Brimfield. I just got it from a man that had it in an old suitcase, and it's another tree of life. It's just a beautiful piece of textile that I love on the wall. The sconces I found, I love anything shells. Shells make me happy, shells and birds. And I found those in Round Top. The antique French mirrors are always a plus. The Louis Philippe.
And then, you know, again, we don't hang things very much, but we like to just lean like a mirror on a dresser. The old vintage dresser from our farm in Texas. Tamara collects a lot of wicker lamps and chairs.
I love vintage wicker.
So that's her big thing, as you can see, like a towel holder. And then our bathroom, our tiny little bathroom is actually, it's small, but it's functional. And we have this beautiful wallpaper that she found. She actually hung it herself, unbelievable. And vintage rug, an old vintage Louis Philippe mirror. But if you could see, like, there's a lot of quaintness.
I love the old little sink.
Yeah.
I love just the charmingness of this little tiny bathroom. It's very special. And then I have one of my favorite little Mary Maguires over the toilet. It's always a fun thing to have.
It's an old custom bed that was handed to us by some friends of ours. It came from a pretty special place, and it's extremely
beautiful.
Comfortable.
Yes, we love our
and
bed.
It's never going to part with us for sure.
And then over here, I have some art. I went to art school in France, so I did a lot of drawings, and so I love the nudes, of course, because it was a lot of that. And then just birds again that I collected from different flea markets. There we are with the family, and there's Jean-Philippe and I when we got married many years ago.
The curtains and the pillows are Fortune textiles, very expensive textiles. You know, it's I don't know how we end up getting them because
A friend of mine gave them to me.
So here we are. Friends of ours give us a lot of stuff.
The closet's really fun. It's kind of like a colorful experience.
You got to get tight shots in there.
This again is a piece of fabric that I found from England, and I had it reproduced and then just made on this super soft cotton. And it's a little prairie dress. It looks really cute in the summer. And then here's another one that I made from an antique piece of fabric, paisley fabric. Again, just a really simple little summer dress that, and then in Texas you can wear it with like boots, a little hat, like you put it on and you're good to go. And then I made some winter ones that were very popular with the turtlenecks. Again, another piece of fabric that I found and just had it reproduced and made the dresses on with it. So it's just kind of fun. I just kind of go with my intuition with the fabrics that collect a lot of vintage. This is like heavy something from some Arabic country. I don't know, it's just a beautiful textile. The vintage clothing is kind of a big thing. I have a bunch of the patchwork, my patchwork dresses that I love. They're like work of art.
This is our guest cottage, actually my man cave.
Like man cave.
But we also, our son is living at home now with us, so he's staying here. And this is a little bit more masculine. So not a lot of pink in here, as we'll see. I'm very influenced by Ralph Lauren. And so since I've been into design and clothing, I've been getting inspired quite a bit. But everything, again, is vintage. Like the African vintage textile. We found an old wing back and I thought it would be kind of cool just to put some really good fun indigo on it. An old restoration hardware sofa that we upholstered in vintage linen fabric, but that we also had dyed in a fun brown chocolate color. As you will see in California, we use a lot of sisal. We sisal a lot of our rooms, but sisal is a big thing out here. It's great for the sun and water and sand.
It gives that natural tone.
Yeah.
It's really a natural vibe.
The pillows, as I was saying to you, Pillow Man, influenced by Ralph Lauren. Old vintage African textiles that we patched some Japanese boro. Do quite a bit of that. The sofa also vintage linen that we upholstered with this. One of my first gifts that Tamara gave me 30 years ago?
Probably.
35 years ago, maybe, as an anniversary gift. I love American Indian art as well. So this is an old restoration chair that we found in a dealer, and
in Round Top.
In Round Top, yeah.
And then this is all reupholstered in vintage linen that we have dyed. So I love the hodgepodge of that. It's so fun.
So back when I was a lot younger, I was doing some modeling, and these are some old photos of I took for a magazine. These are our children, our son Max, our youngest Gabby, and then our oldest Phoebe, and famous photographer Jack Guy did a lot of the photography for us. My son's a big skater, and you can see he's got a lot of skate photos in here as well. I love using rugs and textiles on the walls. It just adds so much. I mean, because they're pieces of art, and not just for the floor. You can literally hang these. This is a Turkish rug as well.
A home means to me a place where I can be myself and be free and do my art and be with my family, of course. And that's exactly what we do here.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.